Welcome to the Retail Reality Show.
Hello, everyone. It's a long time no here in this round. We've gathered our illustrious round of the three main hosts of the Retail Reality Show, and we're just giving you a short update on the recent AI developments in commerce and beyond. So Google, just for the holiday season, quietly introduced a so-called agentic checkout. We're losing traffic to AI mode searchers on our websites, and at the same time, it feels like all that AI stuff does not yet generate any additional revenue for retailers. So it's an important, I would say it's an important topic to talk about. And that's why we have the finest of the finest. Yeah, good to see you. Nino, good to see you. How are you guys?
Good. I mean, it's the holiday season. Everybody who works in retail can understand probably the importance of this quarter. So yeah, I'm stressed and busy, but I like it. How about you?
Cool.
Yeah, for everyone else, this is the shopping and family season. For us in retail, this is the hectic time where we try to get everything done in time for all the holidays. So yeah, yay retail.
One question before we dive into the topic: Black Friday or Cyber Week? What did you shop, Nicholas?
I actually bought a fondue set.
Oh,
Cheese fondue. I mean, I live in Switzerland, or I partly live in Switzerland for work. And my parents love cheese fondue, so I bought them an original Swiss cheese fondue set. And when I visited them, we had a nice cheese fondue from that set.
amazing. Yeah,
That's very creative. I have to admit that I wasn't very creative this year. Mostly some clothes for the kids, some essentials for the kitchen that I needed for some time, makeup, of course, and cosmetics, because those are things that you can always buy in advance. Even if you have one and you know that you'll need one in 6 months, why not buy it now for a discount and just keep it so just the regulars, and I didn't have time to do anything more creative than that, unfortunately. But yeah.
cool.
And you, Nino?
Oh, I bought a disc. What is it called in English?
A Discman.
Disc grinder. Yeah, absolutely, Discman. No, disc grinder. I'm a hobby woodworker, and to get a surface on a wooden surface that is smooth, you need a disc grinder. Every
Nice.
man should have a
Wow,
disc
okay.
grinder at home. Hopefully, you have one, Nicholas.
Actually, I do. Funny enough, I'm okay at DIY. But anyways, I think we're about to talk about AI. But the interesting part is what you're talking about in terms of DIY is one of the use cases that people always quote as one of the most important shopping or like purchase intent cases on all the LLMs. People ask, how do I do that in home improvement, and what do I need? So that's actually an interesting case. But today, let's start with the buzzword of the season. So we're talking about agentic. Everyone talks about agentic. There's agentic studios popping up everywhere in Google, in the OpenAI, in the Microsoft environment. Everyone wants it, but at the same time, at least that's my feeling, most of the enterprise use cases or most of the enterprise users or corporates do not employ them at scale yet. So it might be for security concerns. It might be because still the LLMs have a tendency to sometimes to be a bit too enthusiastic about facts that they don't know, actually. So the hallucination part is still a thing. But in the end, I think still that's a word that we are talking about, and that's something that is definitely going to come in the future. Maybe, Nino, you're an expert. You want to explain first what agentic means?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I just wanted to hit the red buzzer because that's my reality. Also, putting on my Salesforce hat, we talk a lot about the agentic enterprise. I talk a lot about agentic with my customers, but for many, it's not really clear. So good call out, Nicholas. So I would say, and I'm interested on also your take. Agentic is, and I always make a comparison between an old school chatbot that was dumb. You asked a question, and then the answer was, okay, I'm gonna redirect you to a physical agent that can help you actually. Then the next iteration was the Copilot, powered by large language models. It could summarize Gen AI. Yes, thank you. So it could summarize something. It could give you maybe could summarize a big chunk of information and send and create an email for you. But now with Agentic, the chatbot or the agent can take action on your behalf and come back with the results. So you give a task, and then we can reason. So there are multiple components. One key component is a reasoning engine. So it deconstructs a bigger prompt or a question into smaller things. So for example, where's my order? Where's my manual order? And how many loyalty points do I have on my account? And then it would decompose it, and it would create two prompts out of it. It matches that with the right agents or sub agents that can then come back and give you an answer. That's my take on agents. So it can take action, as opposed to the old school or the Copilot era, which couldn't do anything. It could just summarize.
Can I plug in a shameless ad for the Air Summit during NRF? So I don't know how many of our listeners are coming to the NRF Big Show in January, but the AI in Retail Summit during NRF Big Show is actually themed this year around Agentic AI. So the entire event is going to be about this very topic. So if this is something that could be of interest, and the three of us are likely to be there as well. So if you want to meet us in person, that could be a great opportunity.
And talk about Agentic life.
So Yael, what's your definition? Does it match Nino's, or would you add something to the definition of Agentic?
Yeah, I'd say Nino is pretty on spot. The idea here is that you kind of break out your areas of responsibility into different agents, right? So you can train an AI agent on a very specific task, an agent that is only responsible on analyzing your inventory, one agent that is only responsible on pricing, and so on and so on. And those agents can actually talk between them. There's actually also, and even like the next level is now consultative AI, which means there is like this, super agent that is now in charge of controlling and making sure that the other agents are actually performing their work as they should and not hallucinating and double checking the work and all of that. So imagine like an office of people. Each one is experienced and trained in a specific task, and then a supervisor above them to make sure their work is accurate and to coordinate between the different tasks. So at the end of the day, it can be a unified approach.
I mean, you're talking about probably a mesh of agents, yeah. So connected to what I said, agents can take action. You're talking about also multiple agents not talking to each other and kind of form a mesh, or you could even argue this is the next generation org chart. You have human beings, like Nicholas, and Nicholas has 5 agents, and those 5 agents have sub agents. One for password recovery, another one for creating a task, another one for sending an email, and then you'll probably have higher level agents. I mean, I'm dreaming a little bit here, but just to explain the concept.
Just like cobots would work in a factory or in a warehouse, right? So you have the robots that are working alongside the humans, and they can take into consideration the human actions, right? So same thing is happening also with Agentic AI, where you have agents, you have humans. Some of the work is being done by humans, some by agents, and each person or agent is able to take into account the actions of everyone around them.
I like that image, or I like that way to describe it. In the end, I sometimes describe it like what we experience today in modern factories. In modern factories, there's 2 human supervisors that supervise machines. It's still not all machines. There is a human supervisor that looks at the tech, but in the end, it's a fully automated process. And I think that's what we're going towards. But then if we look at the actual use cases, I mean, that's the vision. I don't think we are there at scale yet. You're an expert in CRM, and it seems like customer support is one of the places or one of the areas where this already has quite a lot of traction. So what's your experience so far, and what do you see in real life?
Yeah. So I mean, we have multiple cases. If I put on my Salesforce hat again, one of them is help.salesforce.com. I would say where we see significant call deflection, where we see much higher value on the customer side, but we have also lots of customers who report exactly that, bringing down or bringing up call deflection. That means you hit the website as a consumer, and you have a question: where's my order? And the top FAQs in retail, you all know them. How can I get a refund? Is that the product still in stock? Is that store open? I think that's a very solid use case that you can automate, I would say, almost entirely, because the data you need to ground in this answer is well documented. And I think it's a rock solid case. And then we see other areas that where many companies are now also piloting. One is commerce, where we see lots of pilots in grounding the answer in the product catalog, understanding what is the gifted journey. For example, if I want to make a present for my wife for Christmas, what do I need to know for that? You need to understand the product and the semantics and the context of the product where you can use it. And that's, I would say that that's an interesting area, but I just mentioned it, data. Companies also lacking a little bit necessary data as a foundation. And because you need to understand the context, you can use a product, a shoe, for example. If a consumer asks that question, somehow this AI needs to be trained on the context where this can be used in. But I mean, looking at you, Nicholas, you're working for a retailer, and data is a crucial thing. How do you see that? Am I right, or?
I think in like what we're talking about, it has a couple of layers. I think the technology is super promising. What people misunderstand often when implementing these use cases is that just like a human employee, your, let's say, virtual employee or your AI employee needs training and they need supervision. And right now they need more of it than most people think. People believe that because it's called agentic, I just plug it in, I switch it on and it works. And it's not, it doesn't work that way. If I don't give my employee a proper handbook where they can look up whatever case they are trying to work on, then my employee might actually, I don't know, create a solution that is not within our company. Yeah. So they might hallucinate when you talk in AI language. So in the end, what you're saying is one part, data, it's like data needs to be accurate for them to work properly. Then it's guidance, ethical components, moral components. You need to teach them how to speak, what's appropriate, what we as a company accept in our company policies. There's a lot of things we need to teach those models. And we need to also make sure that we continuously check, that's like the super agent or the validation layer or whatever, that they stay within these boundaries that we give them. So I think that is the one thing I see. Also in the cases that we're implementing, you really need to invest more time than you think. But then once you've invested that time and those cases are running at scale, the efficiency is insane. And also the accuracy becomes quite high. But you should never believe that that there's a magic AI that you can just switch on and it's going to replace processes that you've done for years. It's something that you need to train, you need to work towards, you need to slice and dice it, you need to package it into smaller packages. But then once you've done it, I have cases now, they're running at a 100 times more efficient than doing it with a human workforce. It's crazy, especially around product data. It's really cool, but it really also takes time to build it. Sorry.
Share about one of these use cases.
Well, I think the biggest use case we're doing is a reverse master data engineering use case where actually we started looking at our data, which was fragmented and not really concise. People couldn't filter because the sizes weren't adequately bucketed. There was wrong colors, wrong product description. It was really challenging. And now what we're doing is we're basically, instead of doing, I call it the forward-facing use cases, which everyone is implementing, saying, okay, I take some data and then I make a text out of it. We're actually reversing this. We're using a couple of large language models. We're using computer vision. We're looking at the products and we're reclassifying them to have structured data on all of our products in a much higher depth than we had before. So what we can do now first of all, for the consumer, the website now is usable, or much better usable. They can filter sizes in the way that they're used to. It's nice. The product descriptions make sense. Second of all, we have a huge metadata template on the products that we can use for analytics, automation, personalization. So all the use cases we want to do that rely on consistent, well-structured data. And that's a use case. To be honest, I thought it would go much quicker. It took us quite a long time to figure out everything with the validation layers, the models to use, what model is the most efficient, what model is cheap enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But now we're at a moment in time where we actually achieve results that even I wouldn't have thought were possible. And it's highly automated. It has a very low running cost, and it is just massively bringing value.
Thanks for sharing that use case. I mean, that's exactly what I said. If you look at the customer service use case and automation towards consumer, it's easier because it's well documented. You have lots of training data, you have conversations in your service environment, you have FAQs you can use as grounding, structured and unstructured. But in commerce, you need the product catalog. And in a retail environment, that's why I was saying it's not at the same level as customer service because less well documented. That's exactly spot on. And I would extend what I also see is I see lots of augmentation use cases because now we talked a lot about automation. What I also see is that the human being is still in the loop, but less in those long tail cases, which you can automate. But where the human stays in the loop, I see lots of productivity use cases. Summarize this email and send it out. Gather if the customer asks for where's my order, connect to DHL via another agent, for example, via MCP. That's an interface, a technical interface that's being built by Anthropic. And then get the result and send it to the customer. Those things are much quicker if you use agents than if you have to do it manually.
And I also
So
see,
guys, before we before we move on to the next topic, because we have to watch our time here. Just you're from the startup environment, and what I feel like right now, implementing this from the start is much easier than trying to implement AI in a corporate environment where processes are already running. What are you seeing there? Is there use cases that really drive measurable value?
So obviously startups are using agentic AI for their own processes, but they're also coming up with really creative ideas on how to help retailers with areas that might, not be the sexiest areas. Let's take procurement, for example, right? I mean, there are hundreds of hours that are being wasted on negotiations between retailers and brands and suppliers. And sometimes if it's not, sometimes you only negotiate once a year, but then pricing changes throughout the year. So I do see startups that are tackling this issue, like Gain, for example, that is building agents specifically for procurement that are doing the negotiations for you, shortening the cycle of negotiation and coming up with basically cost reductions throughout the entire year for the retailer. Same thing with, supply chain streamlining and inventory management, demand forecasting, and all of those topics. Might not be the sexiest use cases. I know that we all are looking at agentic commerce and how it can impact the end consumer, but there are also a lot of use cases in the backend that can be streamlined with agentic AI and really change the game for many retailers and brands.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, so let's go on to one more thing. We're talking about the use case, but what's actually interesting is the development in the infrastructure. Now, I think when I wrote this show flow, the Gemini Pro or Gemini 3, I think, was the latest model that had a lot of buzz. Now, I think yesterday or the day before, OpenAI launched GPT 5.2, but this race is insane. However, the one thing that really struck me is when we look at the monetization option and what's going forward, we see there's actually quite an interesting, let's say, battle going on here with especially between Google and OpenAI. I mean, what Google now did or does is basically they're going in full scale attack on Perplexity and also OpenAI because they say, well, shopping, we knew that before. We already have the product data. We have everything.
Ours.
Now we have the most powerful agentic or AI LLM model. So now we're just implementing all the features that the others said were unique with them, and we combine it with our product feeds, and we already have plenty of ideas of how to monetize that because we already have the monetization relationship with all the people that booked advertisements with us before. So I think it's quite an interesting time. What are your guys' opinions on that sort of, let's say, war of infrastructure giants?
I mean, like in any other case, there are pros and cons, I would say. But you are right. I would say on the point, they're doing this forever. I think they have this shopping graph. They have real SKUs. They have prices, reviews. I'd say they have this operational truth where the other party is just starting. They have obviously the large language models and the probabilistic truth, let's call it this way. And they have a monetization muscle that is already proven, as opposed to the other players are again learning. They're catching up quickly. On the other side of the coin, I would say, there's this trust gap, I would say, because if you're going to Google, you don't trust Google, obviously, on your behalf that they act in the best interest, because you always have the suspicion they show you an ad, or they show you a result because someone has paid for it, as opposed to the other side, Perplexity and ChatGPT. They do everything and to gain your trust, and because they obviously want to be your trusted advisor, and they are not kind of diluting this, or haven't diluted it yet, with an ad model where they say, or where this user like me is suspicious, is ChatGPT recommending this product now to me because they got an advertising dollar, or are they doing this because they think it's really the best choice for me? What do you think?
I think,
I'm
yeah,
not sure. I mean, first of all, Nicholas, you said it's a battle. I think it's an unfair battle because, as you said, Google is not entering AI shopping, right? It's been there all the years, and they're just now, connecting the dots between Gemini and Google Shopping and OpenChart and all the other elements that they already had. And regarding the trust, I think a lot of people do trust Google because there is always a lot of transparency, right? If it's an ad, you can see that it's an ad, right? There are organic results and ad results. And with ChatGPT or OpenAI and Perplexity, we don't know what is going to be their monetization model yet, but obviously they will have it, right? Right now they're losing a lot of money. At the end of the day, if they want to be profitable, they will need to introduce a monetization model as well. But I think what's important is that, as you said, Nicolas, a lot of retailers and e-commerce stores are losing traffic to AI right now with no monetization. So I think at the end of the day, Google and all the other LLMs, they feed out of those websites, right? They're not, at the end of the day, they're not product designers, they're not retailers, they're not brands. They're not going to be able to manufacture, sell, deliver all of those products. They're simply the gateway, right? So if they will kill all the retailers and brands, there will be nothing left to sell on LLMs. So it has to be a symbiotic relationship. And I think what retailers and brands need to do at this very, very crucial point of time, right? Because I think there's never been a bigger change in online commerce or in commerce in general, right? So what they need to do is they need to start preparing for an era where most of the shopping will be done offsite. Most of the shopping will be done through LLMs. We know that that's perfectly clear. We see how the market is changing. So what they can do in order to stay relevant in this reality is they can make sure that their data is being tagged, being organized in a way that will make the LLMs much easier to take the data from them. And they need to have some kind of a partnership where if somebody buys Zara or Mango or whatever product from an LLM, at the end of the day, Zara is getting the majority of the revenue. I'm sure the monetization will be that Perplexity or Gemini or ChatGPT will take some commission from that purchase, but at the end of the day, the item belongs to the brand, so they should still get the majority of the revenue.
I'm totally with you on the data part, but I'm gonna take a different stand. I don't think this is the big revolution. I actually think this is just a consequent evolution of what happened when platforms like Amazon came up. Because
100%.
essentially, we're not going to AI shop for clothes. We're not at that stage yet. Maybe at one point, but right now what's going to happen is we're going to ask it, what's the cheapest price for diapers? What's the best drill? And that's the stuff that previously we already concentrated in our shopping on the big platforms, Amazon, eBay, etc. So now it becomes more convenient, fair, but already there we have established a marketplace model where one large aggregator collects all the information, or like all the shoppable catalogs, and then as a customer it's super easy to find stuff. So I think the big threat of that is actually mostly to those large platforms and less to the individual retailers already running on that model. And when it comes to the inspirational part of shopping, I do not foresee that in the near future. We're going to get there at one point, but right now I do not see that inspiration, that fashion shopping part. I mean, people browse that websites because it's also nice to see, and then there's a nice video and a lookbook and all that kind of stuff.
All of that
we shouldn't ignore that.
All of that will move to the LLMs. They're going to be taking all the content and presenting it directly on the search results. And it's not just for fashion, it will be for beauty, for DIY, for every sector. This is how I see it.
Is this our
I think
is this our first fight on the show? I love it.
I think so.
Yes,
I like it.
yes,
I like it.
I love fighting.
It's,
I think we should, with that, I think we should wrap up for today and let our audience decide who's
Fight with
who's
us, audience. Yes, discuss with
so
us.
round 1 done. Next episode will be round 2, and we are curious what the audience says. So
Cool.
I think that was a really good discussion. Looking forward to more of those. I wish everyone a festive holiday season in our audience, but also you guys, Nicholas and Yael. Hope you find some time to rest after the busy period.
2026.
See you in 2026.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
That's
guys.
a wrap, and feel free to discuss with us and side with the right side, with the bright side of the force, obviously.
Bright side of the force. And round 2 in 2026. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.